The 1980s Edmonton Oilers were one of the best NHL teams of all time. The team featured some of the best players of all time and won almost half the Stanley Cups in the 1980s. So let's take a look at what caused the rise and the fall of the Edmonton Oilers dynasty. The Oilers joined the NHL in the 1980 season and weren't very good in their inaugural year, with a record of 28, 39, and 13, which gave them 69 points on the season and landed them 16th in the league, out of 21 teams at the time. Their best player was obviously Wayne Gretzky, who scored 51 goals and 137 points. Mark Messier also had his rookie season that year and scored 33 points in 75 games, which isn't anything amazing, but he would become one of the biggest pieces of the dynasty. The Oilers got swept by the Flyers in the preliminary round, but Gretzky, Messier, and Blair McDonald all scored a point per game. In 1981, two extremely important pieces to the eventual dynasty joined the team. Jari Kurri and Paul Coffey entered their rookie NHL season. Jari Kurri was a point per game with 75 points in 75 games, and Coffey scored 32 points in 74 games. With the addition of these two future Hall of Famers, the Oilers improved their record to 29, 35, and 16, which gave them 74 points, and they ended the season 14th in the league. This time, they were the team sweeping in the preliminary round as they beat the Montreal Canadiens to make the actual playoffs for the first time. They made it to the second round before losing to the eventual Cup champs, the New York Islanders, in 6 games. In 1982, a pretty important piece of the eventual dynasty started to really excel, and that was Glenn Anderson, who scored a career-high 105 points in 80 games that season. With the help of Anderson's career year, the Oilers had a huge jump in points with 111 points. They finished the season with a record of 48, 17, and 15, and finished second in the entire league. The legendary goaltender Grant Fuhr also had his rookie season that year, and a save percentage of .898 and a goals against average of 3.31. Gretzky also had the greatest NHL season of all time with a record-breaking 92 goals and 212 points in 80 games. Coffey had his first season over a point per game with 89 points in 80 games. Despite the regular season success, the Oilers got eliminated in the first round by the LA Kings. The 1983 season brought Mark Messier his first 100-point season with 106 in 77 games. Gretzky was once again doing Gretzky things with 71 goals and 196 total points in 80 games. Glenn Anderson and Jari Kurri both scored 104 points, with Kurri doing it in 80 games and Anderson doing it in 72 games. The Oilers ended the season with a record of 47, 21, and 12, which gave them 106 points in the number 3 spot in the league. This year, they would make it all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals, but got swept by the dynasty at the time, the New York Islanders. In the playoffs, Gretzky scored a ridiculous 38 points in 16 games to lead the Oilers. The 1984 season gave the Oilers their best season by far, with a record of 57, 18, and 5, 119 points, and the number 1 spot in the league. Gretzky, of course, had another record-breaking season with the second most goals in a single season with 87, only behind himself, and he had a total of 205 points. Paul Coffey was also doing amazing as he was becoming one of the best defensemen in the world, with 40 goals and 126 points. Grant Fuhr was also doing a pretty solid job in net as well, with a save percentage of .883 and a goals against average of 3.91. And after 5 NHL seasons, the Edmonton Oilers would capture their first franchise Stanley Cup, beating the defending champs who beat them the year before, the New York Islanders, in just 5 games. In the 1985 season, they would have another phenomenal year with a record of 49, 20, and 21, and ending the season with 109 points, which was good for second in the NHL, only behind the Philadelphia Flyers. Gretzky was still doing his thing with 73 goals and 208 total points, and Jari Kurri had his career year with 71 goals and 135 total points. Messier was held to only 55 games, but still put up a good 54 points. Grant Fuhr was still being one of the best goalies at the time, with a save percentage of .884 and a goals against average of 3.87. This season would bring the Oilers their second straight cup after beating the Flyers in 5 games in the finals. The 1986 season brought Wayne Gretzky another record-breaking season with 215 points. Paul Coffey also scored an absurd 138 points and 48 goals. This season, they had 4 100-point scorers with obviously Gretzky and Coffey, but they also had Anderson and Kurri. Grant Fuhr had another great season with a save percentage of .890 and a goals against average of 3.93. With all of these great individual seasons, the Oilers finished with a record of 56, 17, and 7, which landed them first in the NHL with 119 points. The Oilers were on a mission to complete the three-peat but got stopped by the Calgary Flames in the second round of the playoffs. In 1987, the Oilers were looking to bounce back and win another championship, and that is exactly what they did. With the help of Grant Fuhr's incredible .908 save percentage and a goals against average of 2.47 in the playoffs, the Oilers managed to beat the Philadelphia Flyers to capture their third franchise Stanley Cup. Gretzky ended the regular season with 183 points, Kurri ended the season with 108 points, and Mark Messier ended it with 107. They finished the season first in the NHL and obviously ended the season with a Stanley Cup. The 1988 season was another great one for the Oilers. They finished the year with a record of 44, 25, and 11, good for third in the league. Gretzky was only able to play 64 games that season, but still scored 149 points. Messier had an amazing year with 111 points, and Kurri was just under 100 points with 96. In the playoffs, they swept the Bruins to capture their second straight cup for the second time. The 1989 season was a pretty devastating one for the Oilers. It was the first year without the great one Wayne Gretzky, as he was traded to the LA Kings after the 1988 season. Without the help of the great one, the Oilers dropped to a record of 38, 34, and 8, and 7th in the league. The Oilers had two 100-point scorers that year, with Jari Kurri with 102, and Jimmy Carson, who they acquired through the Gretzky trade, with 100 points. In the playoffs, the Oilers had no success, losing in the first round to Gretzky's new team, the LA Kings, in 7 games. In 1990, the Oilers were looking to bounce back, which they definitely did. Mark Messier excelled to a whole new level with 129 points and 45 goals. Messier was the team's only 100-point scorer that year, but Kurri was pretty close with 93. Grant Fuhr and Bill Ranford shared the net that year, with Fuhr having a save percentage of .868 and Ranford having a save percentage of .887. They ended the season with a record of 38, 28, and 14, which placed them 5th in the NHL. They had tremendous playoff success this time, winning yet another Stanley Cup, beating the Bruins in the finals again. Now fast forwarding to 1992, and all their stars are leaving the team. The captain Mark Messier left the team to go play in New York, Grant Fuhr got sent to Toronto, and Jari Kurri left to LA and played with Gretzky again. This left the team's leading point scorer to be Vincent Damphousse with 89 points. Without the help of their stars, the Oilers dropped to 12th in the league and still made the conference finals before losing to the Blackhawks in 4 games. The 1993 season brought the Oilers their first losing record since 1981, with a terrible record of 26, 50, and 8, which landed them 20th in the league, which was the lowest they've ever placed. A big reason for that is the loss of Damphousse, who was their only borderline star that season. Without a true star, the Oilers wouldn't make the playoffs again until the 1997 season, but by then the dynasty was officially done. The closest that the Oilers have gone to another cup since was just this year, losing to the Panthers in 7 games in the finals. Just like most dynasties, the thing that killed it is that all their stars just left, either through trades, free agency, or retirement. It's the most common cause of the death of a dynasty, and that is exactly what happened to the Edmonton Oilers.